Hello and welcome to A Lot of Help with James Lott Jr. I'm James Lott Jr. here of JLJ Media, my online network over 50 shows, and I am the JLJ of JLJ Media, so you can't get any higher. I'm a certified life coach. I'm a former nurse, and as you know, I do this show. We talk about health and wellness and experience. As many of you know, or some may not know, this year my life changed when I became a caregiver to several people in my life. My stepdad, who now passed away, my mom, and my two aunts. So I've been sharing with you guys my journey online and everything that I thought I knew and didn't, on the things that I'm learning. So I'm bringing someone on who has experience in this. She has a book out called Love, Dignity, and Parkinson's From Care Partner to Caregiver, and also an ebook. If you go to terripease.com, we'll spell that out for you and the whole thing there. It's called 5 Dementia Caregiver Strategies That Protected My Mind and My Spirit. She has a PhD, and I want to help me welcome Dr. Terri Pease. Hello, Dr. Pease. How are you?
Hi, I'm really excited to be here. Thank you.
My pleasure. It's not a fun subject, um, but it's a subject I think is necessary because it's happening more and more now. And in certain cultures, I try to explain to some people, you don't send away the person. They live with you or you're there with them. So there are a lot of things we can talk about this. And I was just saying, I literally am going through this right now. It's not Parkinson's, it's other stuff, but I am going through the caregiving journey. And it has been everything on me that I've ever, and I used to be a former nurse. So I want to start with your thing. You were a professor of psychology. I know you didn't practice clinically, but
Right.
what was so this happened to your late husband, Peter, may he rest in peace. Um, I know for me, because I was a former geriatric nurse, so I worked with older people. We each had something that we, kind of, but this doesn't. Those things really don't fully prepare you, do they? In situations like caregiving a person. Let's start there.
Care, right. I mean, that's a great place to start because caregiving is especially if it's a very personal relationship with someone that you're married to or someone who your parent or a step parent or an aunt that you know and that you love. It's very hard to figure out what role you're in. What I learned, I mean, I have a lot of things to say about it in terms of my experience with my husband. And to start, the fact is that I married my husband knowing that he had Parkinson's
Yeah, I heard
disease.
that. I saw like, wow, okay. Was he early stage then? Just early stage, or
Early stage, and we had delusions of grandeur or something because we bought a house, we bought a sailboat, and we moved because we thought we're going to move to Maine and we're going to be able to sail all summer long.
yeah.
Dream on,
Yeah,
dream
yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
We had a lot of fun getting ready for that, but we never actually got to do it. And his Parkinson's progressed. And of course, I didn't know what I didn't know. I mean, when I started, I had spent time caring for people as professionally working with people with disabilities, and I wasn't afraid of it.
Yeah, right.
And I sort of knew my own spirit that, it was easy for me to kind of set aside something for myself in order to, provide for it, to care for it, to join in a person in their own care. And that fit my spirit. Just as an aside, I'll say there are people who find themselves caregiving who don't have that bent. They don't have that particular bump of being a caregiver because they have other things to offer the world. That makes it really, really hard when that's not your thing. So I thought, this will be fine. I learned and I learned and I learned and I looked up a lot of stuff and I stuck to the fact that I could see who he was, even as Parkinson stole him away from me. And depending on what kind of caregiving you're providing, the person themselves might still be there. There's this, I don't remember his name, but there's a young man who's in his 20s who's caring for his very elderly grandmother. And he's got an Instagram or a podcast or something online. And it's so charming because she is still herself and he is still him, so that connection is still there. Parkinson's was particularly hard. And I think other kinds of dementia causing conditions are especially hard because they take the person away. And then you're like, well, who are you? And they look like your loved one and they sound in moments like your loved one. And then they're gone. And it's like the person who's saying, well, calling you everything but a child of God. And you want to know, like, is that you? And it took me a long time to learn how to feel that. Took a long time to understand what to do with that, how to set limits on that, and how to feel good saying, no, you cannot talk to me that way. I love you, but you can't talk to me that way. Give me a minute, give you a minute, I'll be back. And a lot of what I do when I coach caregivers is about helping them to find their particular way of saying, no, you cannot do that. You cannot call me names. You cannot, make hideous messes in the bathroom. You have to take a shower now, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
No,
go ahead.
I'm going to piggyback off two things you brought up, and so this can go. We're going to talk about this, so we'll go in every direction. So one, I did have to learn that people's abilities and bandwidth are different, and I had to learn. And I'm folks, I fully admit there is some laughter and stuff like this too. There are comical moments in caregiving all the time, right?
Yeah, you have to hang on to your sense of humor wherever that gives you an opportunity.
Yes, I'll make sure I say that. There are some. So if I say something right now, I'm being funny, and all caregivers know what I'm doing. So I think you guys get, but folks who are not used to it, it's just hang here. So there are moments I've had to learn fully to meet people where they are.
Right.
So because there's so much to do in caregiving on any given day, if someone can only send food over, accept it. If someone can go over for an hour while you're there, take that hour. Like I've had to learn to stop because I will say I was petty. I was a petty bitch for first. I was like, she took care of you for like 10 years, and all of a sudden I had to stop all that. I had to let that all go. And seriously learn how to accept a person I can only talk to her for a couple hours. That gives me a break to wash clothes or do this or whatever, or close my eyes or whatever. It was like I had to learn. So when you said that about people, not everyone has that capacity. I really believe that everybody has that full capacity. But if they can give you something or whatever, just take that. It is harder on you. We'll get to that a little later, but the self-care for that. The two things you said is my stepdad. That was really hard because it was starting to happen slowly over the past couple of years where it's almost like a switch in their eyes. The eyes are really soul. They really are. You can tell they really. So there were times when I come over, his eyes were lit up, and it was like, "Hey, James," and we're joking and we're laughing and talking. And times I come over and the eyes are turned off.
Right, he's not there.
Not there. He looked at you like, "Hi." He was never mean to me, but he was just always like, "Who's this man in my house?" kind of thing. Like it was like,
right.
And then also to make matters even more funny and comical, my mother and I are twins. Like I'm gonna send you a picture. I'm not even joking. Like she called me her spit baby. She just had me and that was it. I mean, everybody in the world, we walk the streets, I think people think we're twins. She looks great for everything. So there were times he would look at me, but I had my face shaved too. He would look at me and my mother, kind of stare at us. Well, I'm like, does he recognize both of us? Like, does he think, who's this person? Looks like my wife? Like, we didn't know what was going on because it was like turned off. So when you say that, I never experienced that before. So that's the first time I experienced that, where it was like, light on, light off, light on, light off.
And you can't anticipate it.
Nope.
I mean, there's so many things to say about caregiving.
Yes.
And the thing that I really focus on almost exclusively is the caregiver's experience of caregiving, which is different than how do you manage medications and how do you, there's so much good information about that out there.
There is.
But no one understood. I mean, this was what was so hard for me. Nobody really got what this whole experience was, the good and the bad. I mean, I loved my husband to pieces. And we were, I mean, I can talk about just, he was such a cool, perfect person for me. And, we could laugh and he could make dirty jokes, even as he was really far along.
I love it.
And those moments you have to, when those happen, you almost have to gather them in and hold them close. Because there's also going to be the moment when he'll say, are you my mom? It's like, well, and that's what was hard.
I'm sure.
And finally, I mean, I learned to say, well, I'm not your mom, but I do love you and I'm here to take care of you. And when I learned to do that, for example, if it made me feel better, I didn't feel so heartbroken. My husband doesn't even know me anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, you think you
Oh,
have,
yeah. Well, no, please go ahead,
I was
please.
just gonna say, you think you know everything when you kind of sign up,
Yes.
and then life says, nope,
No.
hang on.
How long did it take about from he was already diagnosed before you met him, but
Mhm.
from marriage to the beginnings of the caregiving stage into the caregiving stage, about how long did it take you to actually learn that lesson? To kind
Oh
of
boy, that was a hard one. I mean, it's funny. I was looking through old photos in on my computer, and I saw a photo of the day that I knew my husband has dementia. We were in a hotel, and he was napping in a chair, and we were going to go to the theater later. And he woke up and said to me, "Are those documents sent off to the Vatican? I've got to get them out right now." And he was so distressed and so like adamant. These documents have to get out. What? Um, and he had worked in international business, and so it wasn't surprising that he would have been thinking about sending. For all I know, the Vatican could have been one of his clients. I wouldn't
yeah,
know.
right.
You never know. But what I figured out to say was, oh my goodness, you know what? One of the associates came by, picked up everything that was needed, and everything that you owe to the Vatican is there. I promise you, I wouldn't let you slip up on that. His energy dropped. He connected back to me. People worry about that. They call, I'm like, oh my, somebody recently online asked, well, I'm a religious person. Is it a sin for me to lie to my husband with dementia? Like, no. I mean, I can't imagine that anybody says stick to the, concrete truth when his question is there anything I need to be doing that I'm not doing? And I could say to him, nope, nothing you got to do that you're not doing. And learning how to do therapeutic fibbing is one of those
Yes,
things.
I'm glad you said
You
that.
asked me a different question. You asked me how long, and that
I
was,
like that though. I'm glad you said it though. That's a big part. So I'm glad I said it.
I think it was maybe 4 or 5 years in.
Okay.
And so we had, I mean, I was his care partner from the very beginning, or from early on. I became a caregiver when he could no longer sort of carry his own weight. When he couldn't manage his own medication, when he couldn't recognize that his symptoms were something other than everyday thinking and everyday life, when I had to guide him and keep him from falling and all of that. But it isn't always a switch like that, because sometimes it's so gradual and it's something weird, and then you think, well, maybe that was just a weird moment, and then all of a sudden you're in the midst of it.
Yeah. No, but you get a point that is part of the whole caregiving experience, because we bring in religion and stuff too. Because I have a doctorate in divinity, so I know all about the religious stuff too. And I talk secular and Christian stuff in my clients. And I always say, well, God knows your intentions and knows what's going on. And this is part of the, God gave you this obstacle. You won't believe that people believe that gave you this obstacle, and you're trying to be up to the challenge. And it's a challenge. It's a complete challenge, and we know it. So there's sometimes, I always say that also when you're raising babies. So there's certain things it's almost the same thing. There's certain things you do just because you have to get through it. And it's not really harmful, it's not gonna harm anything, and you're not harming the person. We have to stop our own self-judgment. I think it's another thing I learned during this caregiving experience. Nothing's perfect.
Right.
Mistakes can happen.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
there are some things you have to do at that moment, because there's moments. Some people don't really understand that it is moment to moment,
Right.
and how your mindset is to handle that moment to moment is very important. And so we're going to talk more about that into this discussion. But I'm just saying that what you're saying, I like that therapeutic fibbing. I like that term, because that's basically what it's just you're trying to calm them down. Their mind is jumbled. There are things like I had a grandmother who had dementia, and she was like, "Hi, Jamie," and I go by James now, but it's like, "Hi, Jamie," and so you're still working at that record store? Oh, there are no record stores anymore. No, but I was like, yes, I'm still there, and I said I got the latest Michael Jackson record, and blah blah, and she smiled, was like, okay, put on something else. Like, it was like, it's a little like, who cares, folks? It's fine.
Right.
You're not going to hell for that, I don't think. I mean, and if you believe in Judgment Day, I mean, it's going to be, you took care of somebody, and you put them at ease. I mean, if you want to go the non-secular route, I feel like that's important though, right? That's important. People have their beliefs.
Right. I think that, I mean, for example, one of the places where that comes up is when a person who's suffering what I call brain failure or mind failure, asks, are my parents dead? What happened to my mom?
Yes.
What are you going to do? You're going to tell them every day, no, sweetie, your mom died back in 1971. And so they have to do the first moment of grieving every day. Of course not.
No.
Of course not.
No.
You might say,
inhumane.
or you might say, and I think it's great to get creative. Oh, you know what? She's not here right now, but I know the next time you see her, she's going to be so glad to see you. So you can kind of say something that's as true as you can make it.
Yes, you can.
And sometimes you can't be that creative. Sometimes you just have to say, nope, she went to the store. I'll let you know when she's back.
Yeah.
Be nice to yourself. I mean, I think that's the first lesson to caregivers. When caregivers feel like they have to suffer and that their struggle, their suffering somehow improves life for their loved one. It's just not so. Your caregiving, your suffering, your struggle, your pain does not improve their life one bit.
There was one day, my brother and I were the main caregivers, my mom. Nobody else really helped. And so it's fine, but we didn't, but we would take turns. And so, because first, well, let me give you a little backstory. So Christmas Eve, my stepdad just stopped talking, walking, eating all of a sudden. And then from that to January 20th, then he died. Meanwhile, while we're planning his funeral, my mother falls into a deep sickness, and almost dies herself. So then she comes out of it, and so I'm carrying, and her road has been this last 6 months or so. In between there, I had two aunts, one went to a coma, and she's out of me, so it's been a bunch of stuff. But anyway, I've been in charge of most of this. I'm in charge of the financial stuff, the medical stuff, all this stuff. And we're planning my stepdad's funeral. My mom can't plan because she's sick and literally can't plan it. I'm working with my aunt on that. Then I'm also running this house here where I live and my businesses, her house now and her finances, and just all this stuff. And there was one day I was sitting here at this desk and I was like, and you can't really talk to too many people because they just don't understand unless they've been through it. So I just text my brother, I don't want to go back. I at first I felt guilty, but I was like, I don't want to go back. And I said a couple of words, excuse my language, but I said a couple of words. I said, fuck this. I'm tired. I'm done. And I literally was just tired. I was like, and it was that moment. It's funny you say this. It was that, I had a rant, and then he ranted back to me. We both kind of ranted on each other. We kind of started to laugh. And I said, that's the moment I said, okay, this is my brother's name is JR. I said, okay, we have to figure this out so that we have ourselves in the middle of all this. So it's funny you say that because at first I was just like doing. I mean, first it's the task of just doing. There's a lot that goes on setting stuff up, and when the nurse is going to come and this over here and all this stuff. But that was the moment I was like at my wit's end, ready to pull all my hair out. And I was crying. I was mad crying because I was mad. I was like a little kid. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to. You can't make me. You can't make me. And we were laughing, but that was the moment when I realized. We both said we got to do something for ourselves too. And so we started to actually actively make sure, okay, I'm giving you this weekend off. Don't call her, don't come over. And then he's like, okay, I'm giving you these 2 nights off. I'm coming over in the morning. You're right. Caregivers just are so busy in it and feeling bad and tired and all those things, which are all legitimate. However, we're no good to nobody, right? If we don't take care of ourselves. Isn't that the whole thing? So go ahead, tell him, doctor.
And part of what I'm working on now after this ebook, which is out, is actually 2 things. I created a menu. And if you excuse me for a minute, I'll pull it out of a drawer and show it to you. Okay. But think of a restaurant menu.
Okay.
And instead of, this kind of salad, which costs this much, and this kind of sandwich, which costs this much, it is various kinds of tasks that someone else can do to help support a caregiver. The first one is call up and talk to them 15 minutes, or bring over a meal and then clean up afterwards, 1 to 2 hours. And there are a lot of those little things. They actually even made a little menu card that you could actually order and like have in your house. So when someone says, oh, let me know if I can help, then you can say, oh, so glad you asked. Here's something I wrote up, or here's something this lady on the internet got me.
And you choose which one you can do. Right.
You choose what you can do.
I like that.
So I'll send you one.
Yeah, send me one so I like that. Because it really is. You have to figure out ways at that point to go, okay, I gotta take care of myself. This is just bonkers. You know.
And you have to draw other people in. You know, sometimes I think what you said about feeling like somebody else ought to come in and do as much as I'm doing, not going to happen.
No.
Rarely. But if you can draw people in, when people, for example, ask you, how's your grandmother doing? You can either say, oh, she's fine. She's such a tough lady, which pushes them away and tells them, I don't want to talk to you about it. Yes. Or you can say, there are a lot of changes, and so far we're rolling with the punches or whatever. But that so far leaves room for someone else to then offer. And then you can actually give out. I mean, I'm so into this menu thingy that I made, because you can give it to people and blame the lady on the internet. And say there are things you can do, because even just having somebody call up and listen to you and not tell you what you should do and not judge you. My daughter, who lived across the country, I have spent so many nights sitting on the stairs outside of our bedroom on the phone with my daughter. And she just was so patient with me, and she just listened to me. And that was enough.
Yeah. Yes, yeah. All right, so now show us that menu.
Okay, here it is.
Looks like a menu.
Looks like a restaurant menu.
It does. Companionship research. Okay, I like it.
So the idea is that if you hand this to someone, then they can actually sort of dissipate their own guilt about being a secondary caregiver. Because people, I mean, even if they're not doing anything, unless they just hate you, that's another whole story. But if they care about you, they know what you're doing, but they also don't want to be drawn in to the intensity that you're living.
Yeah.
So if you can hand them this and it just says, make some phone calls for me, or interview the person who's going to paint the front porch. And then it's time limited, and they don't feel like they're going to be overwhelmed. So I will send you one.
Please do.
And can I tell you where people can get one?
Please tell them. Please. This is like a discovery, folks. Go ahead, please.
Oh, great. I mean, my little Etsy shop is called Seabury House. It's SEABURYHOUSE.
Okay.
And I'm just started in on Etsy.
Yeah, I like Etsy.com and Seabury House. I'll put that in the link below.
Okay. Super.
So that's that. I could have had that shit. I could have used that shit about 8 months ago. I love it. I love it. So that's wonderful. And again, it is okay. Can you tell people, in your opinion, the difference between caretaking versus caregiving? Because you're always saying, well, aren't you a caretaker? And I know you guys, I'm a caregiver. So, and you also say care partner, which that's self-explanatory. But is there a difference for you? I'm just waiting for you. Is there a difference?
Yeah, I don't know exactly how I would make that distinction, except that when you become a full-on caregiver, the emphasis is really on seeing whatever the needs are that person is experiencing, meeting them. Yeah. Meeting as fully as you can. And I'm saying that very deliberately. You cannot do everything for a person that they would do for themselves.
You can't.
I encourage caregivers to approach caregiving with open hands and an open heart. Learn what you can do, learn what you can give, and be as generous as you can be with what you can give. And I know there's a sense in which if you're really right, you'll never think about placing your loved one in out-of-home care. But I think about an example of someone who was about 104 pounds, and her husband was 6'4", very tall, very heavy, and he had a particular aspect of Parkinson's called orthostatic hypotension, which means you stand up and you fall over because your blood pressure drops to zero. She couldn't catch him. She hurt herself trying to catch him. You couldn't get him off the floor, and you can call for a lift assist from the fire department, from the EMTs, but that's no way to live, and they get injured. And so she had to find a way to get him more care. And I did that. I loved my husband, and I can't even find words for how much I love this man.
Yeah.
When the time come, and a wonderful OT said to me, "It is time, girl, now." We found a really lovely place, and we were very lucky. My husband always referred to it as the guest house.
Okay, I like that.
Which tells you how he felt. And he told me this was a good choice. But what I saw was that there was one person who did his laundry, and there was someone else who cooked the meals, and there was someone else who swept the floors, and there was someone else who helped to keep him clean, even when that was a challenge. And then when I came, we hung out, we watched TV. I took a nap with him almost every day. I could bring my dog over to visit. So this is a very special place. But the fact is, you can still do the loving when someone else is doing the laundry.
Well, I like that. You touched on this earlier. This is very important too. I'm chuckling because it's kind of funny. So I'll tell you this one experience. So my grandmother was taking care of my great grandmother. It's like my family on one side, they live a long time. She had dementia. So in New York, I would come to visit, and I would come, and I would stay with my grandmother. That's what I always did. So my great grandmother, she didn't recognize me at all. She was like, "Who's this man in the house?" And she goes, "That's your grandson." Blah blah. I'm like, whatever. So, but she would do this thing. It was kind of hilarious, but it was like a little much. So my grandmother would make dinner for everybody, and then and everybody eats whatever. Then it was her time. She'd eat last. Just something she always did. So every time she would sit down to eat, her mother, my great grandmother, would say, "Susie," like she needed something every single time. So I said, "Well, while I'm here, Grand Susie, I will be your extra. I'll be your extension of your arms and your hands." So I remember being in another room. I just started when she laughed. I was in another room, and she would be on all our food. We did our food. Now it's her turn to eat. She's gonna sit and watch TV, and she sits down, and my grandmother goes, "Susie." So I put my head out because I was behind. I was in another room. I was behind. I go, "Yes, Grandma. You need anything?" And she huffed and puffed. "I want my daughter." I said, "Well, she's eating right now. So if you need anything, I'm right here. I will serve whatever you need." She sat there like a child and pouted. I put my head back in. And later, "Susie." I looked at my grandmother, and she says, the only time I ever spoke to her, so I said, "You sit down, you eat." And she said that she kind of liked it. She sat down, she was eating. I said, "Yes, Gran, what do you need?" And if she could get about that chair and beat my ass, she would have. I could tell her face was like, "Oh, I'm going to get him." And I don't know what she was thinking, but we kept laughing and she kept looking at me like daggers in her eyes. And I go, "I'm here to help you. Whatever you need, I'll give it to you." She's eating right now. Then like 5 minutes later, she says, "Susie," I go, "Yes." She goes, "I'm ready for some Vienna sausages." I said, "Would you like them cut up or whole?" "Cut up." And she allowed me to serve her. So like, there are moments when stuff like that happens. I was gonna have a sense of humor about it. I mean, I was just kind of like, I can have a sense of humor about it and everything, but I wasn't living. I wasn't a full-time caregiver, so I wasn't in it. So I know you have books on this stuff, but just what a couple of tips that you have when someone's a full-time caregiver and they have to deal with that off and on.
Oh, yeah. And that happens. That something about your focusing elsewhere can make a person with dementia feel like they're lost, like they're left behind. And I think, it's hard, but if you just accept that they are missing you the moment your attention is turned and tell them, "You're going to miss me. I'm not here right now. I'll be back." And build the habit of tolerating missing you. I think one thing, and this is, you can't, if you're in the middle of caregiving, it may be late for this insight, but as soon as you start caregiving, it's really important that you not jump up and do everything. It's really important that you say, oh my goodness, let's see how long it takes me. Or, you can say something better than that,
Yeah,
but something like, wow, it's going to take me about 20 minutes. Here's a timer. And there's actually, I don't usually plug products, but there's this really cool timer called a time timer.
I know time. I know as an organizer, I know that. I know them. Yes.
And you know that. And then the time timer is really cool because it's visual. And you could say, here's this big red circle, Gran. And when the red circle turns all the way white, I'll be back.
Yeah.
And a trick that goes with that is whatever time interval you tell them you're coming back, come back sooner.
Okay.
If you're going out and you're going to be back at 7:30, you tell them, I'll be back at 8.
Okay, got it. Okay. Got it.
Right? So that they're never sitting around saying, where is he? He's late, I'm missing.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Got it.
I learned that a lot. There are a lot of those little tricks that give you more peace of mind as a caregiver and that just help you feel like you're managing the demands as opposed to simply succumbing to them.
Ooh, that's good. That's why we're talking about this. I'm like you said, I've talked about the actual clinical stuff of this. I said I want to talk about this is the emotional stuff we're talking. This is the stuff. This is the nitty gritty.
It really is.
It really is. This is the stuff that. One of the things I asked for you, like for me recently, my mother, I had our healthcare system's a little challenged. So certain things didn't happen. To say that certain things didn't happen like the frequency they should have happened. So she felt comfortable with me bathing her. For the first month or so she came, she couldn't do it herself. So I had to bathe her. And she goes, well, for her, it was like, you're a nurse, you know what's going on. I look like her. She felt comfortable with me doing it. And so your relationship changes.
No, it does.
It changes. And I'm a father and grandfather. I raised children. I had 2 daughters, raised children and everything. But it's like suddenly you're like, wow, the dynamic has changed. So I want to ask for you and for others, how did you keep the partner alive in the caregiving experience?
That's the big challenge.
Yeah.
And I can start by just telling you my personal experience. When I had more help, I could go back to being my husband's wife and partner, and we could enjoy things together. And he could feel me as a person who loved him and who was in his life, rather than the person who was his chin and bottom washer. And if you are doing all of that hands-on, it takes such a toll on you emotionally that you have to be able to step away. And the way that other people in your life can preserve the emotional world of the person getting care is by preserving you, the primary caregiver.
Yes, I know. It's weird. My mother and I now I'm still in charge. She's getting better, but I'm still kind of in charge of stuff a little bit. I'm trying to get back to the mother-son part of things. Because part of me kind of misses it a little bit.
Yeah.
No, wait, I'm in my 50s. I'm a grandfather of 5, and I'm missing my mommy, so to speak, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. My mom is 96, just turned 96.
Wow.
And I spend time with her at home in Atlanta, and I'll be down there later this fall again.
Yeah.
And there are moments, mostly she's got a lot of help, and I've got other siblings, so that I'm not the only one. But there are moments when she just needs to be mothered. But there are times when I need mothering too, and I'm going to tear up because the last time I was there for an extended
out too. I know. It's like
I was on the couch with her, and I don't know, I was tired or cranky or something, and I sat down with my head on her shoulder, and she stroked my head just the way she did when I was a little girl. And I swear it's going to bring me to tears because I missed it so much. And you don't have the whole connection. And as we grow up, that separates, and all of that in a parent-child relationship. But you can allow yourself to have moments of being parented. Even if it's asking her for, Mom, help me decide if my buttons are straight on my shirt. Or do you think it's time for me to get a shave? And engage her in some parental kind of encounter with you. Even if you
for my mother, it's my hair too. She likes playing with my hair. So
okay.
There are times she goes, I want to touch your hair. And she's like, it's just so beautiful. And then she may say, I made that. I go, yes,
Yeah.
you did that. And so it's funny you just said that. I'm like, that was my mother's thing with me, my hair. It's what
Yeah.
folks, I had hair in here, just underneath the hat right now. It's a little hot in LA.
Yeah. Some days you just got to get it out of sight.
Yes,
You're tired
exactly.
of it.
But it's funny you just said that. My mother, for me, would say, she would like, there were times I would sit on the bed with her and she would play with my hair and we watch the TV. She was like, it's like your hair is so soft.
And that kind of loving moment you can give yourself. I think preserving the love is a really important part of preserving you as a caregiver. You know, sometimes I talk to people online who are caregivers, and one of the hardest situations is a person whose relationship with a parent or with a spouse has been contentious. Their marriage was painful. They were actually even thinking about getting out of Dodge, and then the person gets a condition, gets dementia or so forth, and needs care. I'm going to say something controversial.
Say it.
You are not obligated. You are not obligated to give care.
Oh, no, you're not. I agree with
Obligated.
that. No.
You may be obligated to not just walk out the door and say good luck.
Right, you're right. You're right.
So you have those moments when you think about it. But the point is that you may want to be in charge of or attentive to their well-being, but you are entitled to say, this is too much for me. And to love yourself and to be loving to the person who says this is too much for me, because it's not for everyone. It's really not.
No, you are. No, I'm glad. I don't think it's controversial at all. I mean, I know like I said, there's certain cultures and stuff, I may do it, but no, my brother and I both were just like, yeah, there's certain things I'm not going to do. There's certain things I can't do. There's things you can't do. We got it, and we accepted that from each other. There was no judgment whatsoever. And you're right. It's, people are like, you guys really stepped up. I go, we did step up because we didn't have to. We could have said, see you later, going home. Good luck to everybody. We did. We chose not to do that. It was a choice. We chose not to do that. And I know a lot of adult children who didn't take care of their parents. I know a lot of people who don't take care of the grandmother. I know a lot of folks that don't do it. I have folks in my life that just didn't come around either. That were I just didn't come around. And so it is a choice. And you have to learn, and you're right, you have to learn, like, okay, they have a choice. They don't have to do it. Luckily, both my stepdad and mom were very fortunate. They had kids who wanted to come around and help them out during this point. My brother and I, because my stepdad and his kids helped out. It was just me and my brother. We took care of both of them.
Wow.
So I'm saying, they're fortunate enough that we had a kind of relationship, and I had the wherewithal that I could step in and do something. But no, I think I tell the time, not everybody's made up for it. Not everybody isn't. And some folks, depends on your relationship with your parents or your aunts or your cousins, you're not close. They think, nah, I'm not doing it, and I don't judge them. I don't judge them. We all make our lives, but I just think I think you're right about that. But we chose to come in and step in, and I'm that kind of person, so I think I chose to do it. But I learned, meanwhile, not easy. Number two, me is still in there.
Yeah, and you've got to preserve yourself. And one thing that I'm hearing about you and your brother is that the two of you sound like you have a fun, connected engagement with each other. And I would give you an assignment.
Oh, give me an assignment. I love assignments. Give me an assignment.
You've got an assignment, which is to find someone who can provide care long enough for you and your brother to go out for a cup of coffee, go see a movie together, to preserve that relationship.
Okay. I like that. I'll report back to you.
Okay.
I have an idea of something. Because we don't really do anything together. I mean, we went and saw what did we see? We saw Six the musical back in May together. But that's the time we don't really. I have an idea. There's actually a record store that we both want to go to. Maybe I'll take him there. We'll go to the record store. Maybe something to eat afterwards. I know we don't really. That's why we don't do anything. Just me and him together.
I assign that to you because part of what's enabling you to be a strong caregiver for the people in your life is that he's got your back and you've got his, and so you want to preserve that and you want to have some joy with each other.
Yeah, so I might just because he just had a birthday. He just turned a certain age, and I'm a certain age, and we're like. We live in a house together. We're just like, wow, like two old men living in a house. We laugh about that. And we had a brother who passed away, so that's that's all the story. But the whole thing was we're talking, and we have these long talks in here. So I'm like, yeah, we don't really go out and do anything together. We've been to, and I did say on his birthday, I was very emotional on this birthday. I was like, we've both been through a lot together in this last 8 months. I said we had the difficult conversations. There were times when you had to step up. There were times when I had to step up in ways that we weren't used to. I said it did change our dynamic too. It did.
Yeah.
It really it grew us up, as we say in the South. We grew us up. We grew up a little more. We did kind of a way, and we've always cared for each other. We always knew that we would. We always knew in quotes we'd probably be there for each other if something happened. But literally, it was proven. Like we literally proved it this year with what happened with our parents and aunts and everything. It was like it is really the two of us, isn't it? Kind of against the world, so to speak. I mean, not against, but you know what I mean. Like it's kind of like it is us.
Yes. And you can rely on each other. And if there's a family member who, maybe was not as able, if you had a sibling who was not as able, finding it in your heart to be forgiving of their, that's tough. That's tough, especially when you're worn out. It's like you ought to be able to. And coming to say to yourself, as much as I wish they could, they cannot.
It's hard. Tell you folks, I've been trying to forgive people, and I'm doing it little by little, but there are people I just thought for sure. And you don't do so no. I thought for sure. Here's the blessing. There are folks I had no idea have showed up and been there. Nice blessing. You'll be surprised, folks. You never know who will show up for you in what ways. And there's some folks I was like, you? Wow, okay. And it's a happy surprise, right? That's easy to accept. You're like, wow, I'll take it in. But there are folks I just knew. I mean, I would have bet my kid's life on it. They would be in and here and crickets, nothing. And I'm like, well, that's the hard part. It's not the general public. It's like these certain, like you said, it's these certain folks. They think, they will show up, they will be there, and they're not. And that's you have to forgive. You're right. You have to forgive them for yourself, not for them. For yourself, you have to forgive them.
Right, because otherwise you've got this kind of rancor in your soul.
Yes.
Something that I think about caregiving is that caregiving is a spiritual act. And I'm not a spiritual leader person of any sort, but I firmly believe that caregiving is meditation, caregiving is prayer, and caregiving is a way of connecting with sort of the reality that life is finite, that we all expire. We all have an expiration date. That's my mom's phrase when I hit my expiration date.
But she's still though, but okay.
She's doing great, but
120, so that's fine. But okay, girl.
And we're all going to hit that moment.
Yeah.
And being conscious of the reality of life's finality, I think gives you a better place to sit and stand to do this. And I don't mean to sound all sanctimonious and so forth, but you have to find your own way of preserving your spirit and caregiving.
I think we're going to end it right there. I could keep talking to you, but that's right there at the perfect ending of the show. Dr. Pease, thanks for being on the show and sharing your personal story mixed with professional, because I know it's not always easy to do that, especially in subjects like this. So thank you.
Thank you. This was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. And I got a lot of help.
Yeah. Oh my God. You should work. We should. Oh my God. I love you. And to your late husband, I know he's watching you, just smiling. I mean, he's just smiling. I know he is. I know he's smiling. So you can find Dr. Pease on Instagram at Terri Pease, PhD. And that's TerriPease, PhD. Same on Facebook. I'll make the spellings down below in this thing. The book is Love, Dignity, and Parkinson's from Care Partner to Caregiver. It's on Amazon, anywhere. So you don't have to run. You can actually just go on your phone, go on your tablet. There's the book, and order it now. And also go to her website, terripease.com, and get her ebook, 5 Dementia Caregiver Strategies That Protect My Mind and Spirit. And then also on her Etsy store, Seaberry House on Etsy.com. Get that menu. I'm gonna get that menu. You guys will love it. Get that menu. And just for anybody at home, we see you, we hear you, we feel you. We have compassion and care and concern for you as the caregiver. You are the unsung heroes, or the sung heroes, depends on if you are getting sung too. And we just know it's not easy, but I know for me it's enriched my life even more. So that there are good things that will come out of it. And we're two examples, right?
That's very true.
Very good. Everyone take care. LottofHelp.com is the website. Talk to you guys next time.